Alright, another draft physics and draft science here on YouTube video presentation. Just going to read a Stephen Bro comment, so it should bring up some subjects relevant somewhere. Something, just, the criticisms. So we might as well give them their say, and I will respond as appropriate, I suppose. I haven't read this crap yet, so we'll see what fun is in it. Anyway, thank you in particular for clarifying the differences between charge and magnetism. So this was a comment on Franklin Hu's video where he really didn't clarify anything. Physics is stuck with this idea of some sort of virtual force that travels between magnets and charges and somehow creates momentum towards. So you're throwing something at the speed of light at something. Somehow it's just a messenger that says, come to me, or something like that. That's the standard woo. And so clearly I'd say I'm way ahead in terms of I don't have any silly pulls in my theory. You can only make a pull by reducing force, not by any other mechanism. And that's it. So if something's moving towards you, it's because something's missing, not because you sent a messenger. And I've obviously pointed out that yes, there's always been this slight difference between charge and magnetism, in the sense that the two things, you can't necessarily manipulate a single electron or a small charge, well, a charged surface, with a magnet, because somehow what the magnet's producing and what the charge is doing don't perfectly correlate. That is, the north side of the magnet doesn't perfectly correlate with a negative charge, and the south side doesn't perfectly correlate to a positive charge. But the argument is that yes, if you took charges and wanted to make magnets out of them, you could, theoretically. That the idea, the function of the two things, the north-south and the positive-negative, function the same way. And it's just that there's something, in the mechanism. Charges are monopoles, magnetism is dipole. So charges are always either one thing or another thing. So they're a consistent, I really shouldn't have to draw it. And magnets are made of smaller magnets, and so they're made of dipoles. And so they're producing a field that's mixed, but it has nuance. There's something about the field that the south side, the pattern is the opposite of the north side. So it's just understanding that there's a subtlety, a little tiny subtlety, just like there is with frequency and light. All light isn't equal, depending on how the electron reacts to it, in terms of how an atom reacts to it. Some react to certain frequencies, others react to other frequencies. So there's a subtlety there. But just wasting your time reasoning with these kind of people. It was helpful to me at any rate, as I don't really have time to think about these matters. So he doesn't know, he's claiming, he hasn't thought about it, he's sort of conceding an ignorance of some kind, and yet he's opining. There being 50 other draft science claims constantly keeping me busy. Well, I don't know, I don't see you being busy. I don't see you producing any content at all. I don't see you defending any notions at all. I don't see you asserting anything at all. All you're doing is ragging. You're just making claims that I'm wrong, and it's just from some ambiguous place. Oh, well, he's going to bring up Horsehit. Yeah, so he's going to bring up dead people and say they demonstrate I'm wrong. Oh, too amazing. I think Horsehit used to... Let's understand, Horsehit conceded that they never did these detector experiments. Horsehit started conceding an awful lot about these experiments, and I think Horsehit would be quite impressed. If it's just unfortunate, frankly. I mean, I think anybody's honest appraisal would be that I was working on Horsehit, and frankly, until the very end, he was starting to concede some points. So I think he'd be quite impressed with the double slit analysis and say, yes, this is a reasonable explanation. Because he was looking for the same explanation, something reasonable. Used to explain or try to why Gary's claims regarding magnetism and charge cannot be correct. Well, frankly, that didn't happen. So, Hothloday didn't make any specific claims regarding my theory of magnetism, so that's just horseshit. But I think you were more concise, although I also appreciate Hothloday's explanations too. He didn't have an explanation. He just kept saying quantum field theory or something. He didn't, frankly. I like your directness and brevity. Frankly, I don't think he's brief in the sense that, he has had 2 hours every Saturday and he's, gone over it a few hundred times, the same stuff, and he's not very responsive to the criticisms of those arguments, but whatever. I don't mind extended videos, but you seem to have it under control. If there was, no point in arguing. It's physics. If you think you can do it in 30 minutes, okay, fine. I don't think you really can. So, but whatever. 30 minutes would be an unusual short video for Gary. So what? Again, it's physics. You go to 4 years of school to learn their silly theory. Now, most of that time is wasted on mathematics, not concepts. But frankly, there's still plenty of experiments to go over and plenty of details. And as I've pointed out, for 200 years they've been sitting with the two-slit experiment, and they haven't even conceded what was true 200 years ago, that two waves won't explain the pattern at all. It won't get any part of the pattern right. So I guess it sort of deserves a little bit of time devoted to the subject, since apparently for 200 years millions of physicists haven't been able to figure out the obvious. And they've been saying the same, the lies have been told, the stories, the fables about physics. Feynman was, in 50 years ago was arguing about detector experiments that there was no evidence anybody did. I've not forgotten or recovered from him regular making 3-hour-long videos every day. Well, that never really happened, but whatever. It was hard to keep up with. So again, this guy he has lots of his own little projects, which is fine, and but the point is what do you expect from physics? And the real point is that I'm inciting or provoking or attempting to solicit and actually attempting to pay for high value time arguing these basic points, because there's a lot of them to put in the list of the properties of something. Now you say I'm wrong about everything, and yet you don't put up anything. You don't explain what a photon looks like. Do you think Franklin Who is right and the photon is doing this through space? I mean, do you think it's an object that's not really an object? It's a wave. It's a wave that's it's got thousands of atoms, well, at least 1,000 atoms worth of polarization, length, and that somehow it's interacting with one electron? Do you think that's happening? Yeah, you won't answer the question, so what's the point? It was actually a huge waste of time, if I'm brutally honest. Well, whatever. Again, that's the liability in life, okay? You can think so. I'm going to prove you an idiot in the end, just a little shit talker. But go ahead, make your little snarky comments that you think the conversation wasn't worth having. Fine. Whatever. Because he's so repetitive. Well, some of it needs to be repeated, right? I mean, there's, clearly it's a huge change in quantum mechanics if my argument about the two-slit experiment is correct, that it's been wrong since, you go all the way back to 1801, right? And it's been wrong since then. If I'm right, and all of quantum mechanics was essentially built on this bizarre interpretation of what's happening in the experiment, that these things are superimposed states and all of this other crap, that forces are interacting with forces, which we have no evidence of anywhere else. This is a significant statement, and you're pretending that it shouldn't be repeated. That isn't that a starting point? I mean, it's the cornerstone experiment, and yet we're supposed to just move on? I don't think so. It's the substance. It's a huge part of the argument to be made. Shows their bad science. That everything, if they can't do two stinking slits correctly, they can't be honestly describe two slits and analyze it correctly. What trust can you have in physics? I mean, it's a question. Will anybody ever answer the fucking question? How do you trust a physics that can't do two slits right? Come on. But I didn't want to miss anything again. But I digress. Yeah, you sure as hell fucking do. Yeah, so just a thank you, really. So I really don't get the thank you part. This video wasn't all that enlightening, but whatever. Edit. Shit. P.S. Just to clarify, in light of a reply to my initial comment, I guess somebody replied to it. I didn't see any replies. When I say I endure 3 hours of videos from him because I didn't want to miss anything, what I really mean is I want to know every time he changes his theory. So now he's saying he wasn't even watching with any kind of sincerity or something. Well, frankly, it's called draft physics. And it's, some of it's a lot less than draft now, okay? I'm making really solid assertions, and go ahead, prove me wrong. I mean, I'm directly stating to you that detector experiments never took place. I'm directly stating that the math doesn't work. Two waves can't do the pattern. They can't provide any insight into the pattern. It's not even close to even a glimmer of the actual pattern. So nothing's been changed in any substantial way. It's always been a theory based on force and matter being two distinctly different things, and that matter is controlled by force. That's always been the theory. So again, this bullshit that something radically changed somewhere is just bullshit. Every time he moves the goalpost, so where would they moved? I'm saying magnets are filters. Has that changed in any way? I'm saying that the magnet has it's a little more complicated just because it's made out of all these tiny dipoles, and so it's not as clear as I'd like it to be, in the sense that all the blue doesn't go to one end and all the red doesn't go to one end. So yeah, it's changed a little bit. But it's not some major change. It's still the same idea. The force comes from the outside, and all the magnet's doing is converting it. It's just diverting it. It's doing something that doesn't require any energy for it to do. All right, every time he slanders anyone, so we won't have any evidence of this slander I've committed somewhere, so it doesn't exist. Every time he casually throws in yet another piece of garbage made up nonsense about physics. So again, we won't have any examples of this made up stuff, but whatever. There are plenty of examples of the made up physics being popularized. The Dr. Quantum video style crap that's out there that's representing physics. He has never studied properly or passed exams in. So again, what exams do you have to pass? Where for broken theory, should I go to who passed the exam where they prove that jamming doesn't explain the radar experiment? Yeah, the one you were doing, actually. The one you thought, well, yeah, there really isn't any proof, so I'll do the experiment. Yeah, that one. Yeah. Where did they prove it couldn't be jamming? Oh, did they do it somewhere? No, they didn't. So do I pass that test where I have to say in the test that, oh yeah, it couldn't be jamming because nobody thinks that's possible? Well, why don't they think it's possible? Any good reasons? No. All right, he has never studied properly or passed exams in. So again, quite obviously, I have watched a lot of physics lectures and a lot of experiments. So this idiotic notion that I have to have some badge to have the right to point out obvious defects in the analysis of physical experiments. Again, he won't say anything. He won't say, I stand by Feynman's description of the experiment. Do you stand by what Feynman says is happening? What do you defend, asshole? I mean, these assholes who say absolutely nothing and yet will criticize somebody else. Just amazing. And never could, because he would always deem himself to know more than the examiner. Well, I think, frankly, you have the same kind of arrogance, and you have plenty of critiques of the system that judged you, idiot. So again, just hypocrisy on his part. But yes, frankly, as time has gone past, in what other way am I supposed to see it? Okay, a Nobel Prize winning icon of the subject. This is supposed to be his specialty. Okay, he basically got the Nobel Prize for his probability analysis based on the double slit experiment. All right, and he can't describe the experiment correctly. Why should I feel obligated to pass some test by that examiner? Frankly. Anyway, just to clarify, I dislike him very much indeed. Yeah, well, I likewise have no use for you, you trolly little piece of crap, because he has given me every reason to. No, I gave you absolutely no reason to. I never asked you to do a damn thing. I warned you against wasting your money. I did everything I could to discourage, in a sense, recklessness. And yet you just kept saying, this is the way I do things. And that's my fault. Because you have a way of doing things, it's my fault. You never consulted me on any purchase of anything. You never asked me if it was a good idea. You never asked my opinion. Nothing. And yet you're going to blame me for your stupid mistakes and your stupid decisions. Just amazing, asshole. Okay. I mean, really. There's nothing hidden here. I mean, half the videos I made to him were public videos. I gave him I didn't do anything to encourage any reckless purchases. Particularly on or around the 3rd of May 2020, when he did something especially despicable. Despicable, yeah. As far as I'm concerned. Well, I don't care what you think, okay? I really don't, okay? Your definitions are horseshit. But I won't bore everyone with the details. Well, I'd be interested in the details, frankly. Now, I'd be interested in seeing the horrible thing I did on this date. Maybe I'll go back and find my May 20. Okay, May 3rd, 2020. Let me write that down. I'll go see what video I made on May 3rd. What an asshole. Except to say that he hid information from you all. Well, that's just a lie. A fucking lie by a lying troll, okay? There's no fucking hiding anything. It's just such a horseshit accusation to be making. I have been as open and as unshielded, and I've paid a huge price for it, for being honest and myself. These asshole trolls have taken advantage of that, and especially now that my circumstances have changed, they will cut me no slack, in the sense that they will harass people who know me. I mean, that's how bad it is. They'll go after the people who are indirectly related to my life. Even, my family even. I mean, they just don't care. Everybody's a target. It's disgusting. That I was trying, and this is the guy who's an ally of those people. He actually said somewhere, I heard, that he wishes to change his name to my name, so he can what? Do exactly what I'm saying, which as I pointed out before, I didn't really care about my name being private. Okay, my real name, when I lived alone. but I don't live in my house anymore. I don't live on my property anymore. I don't have my own space anymore. And so other people are going to be affected by that trolling behavior, because it's the internet. And there's just no reason to give people any easier access to any personal information. It's really, any civilized human knows you don't do that, retard. God damn. What a piece of shit. Anyway, that I was trying to share for the common good. Okay, so let's see. He hid information from you all that I was trying to share for the common good. So what the fuck he's talking about there is just beyond anyone's understanding, I think. No, he figured on keeping the info for himself. I don't even know what the fuck he could be talking about. This special info. So anyway, just crazy. You got a psychiatric issue there, fella. That's just paranoid nonsense. As luck would have it, some of my info was incorrect. That's amazing. Yeah, what a surprise. So he wasted 6 months preaching it. I don't even know what that even means, but whatever. Until he finally realized his mistake. My mistake, really. So this is all just a story he's telling. There's nothing decisive came out of Stephen Bro's experiments. Just nothing. It was of no value because he just wouldn't do them rigorously enough to get meaningful answers. And that's probably why he took the videos down. Just 2 weeks ago. Well, what happened 2 weeks ago? Let's see. Until he finally realized his mistake. My mistake, really, just 2 weeks ago. I don't know what this is about. Which made me chuckle. So anyway, so he's just all this innuendo, all this talk about some brilliant realization or some piece of evidence, right? Why doesn't he just produce this if it's so powerful? Anyway, at this rate, it will take 2 more years before he realizes the entirety of his mistaken analysis. Yeah, it says the asshole has no analysis, has no theory, has nothing, okay? Has no understanding of any of it. His mistaken analysis of the 2-slit experiment. There's no mistakes in the analysis. Why do I have I'm sitting here paying somebody to play the video, right? I have it on my web page. I'm doing everything I can to promote it and say, provide me a counter argument. Provide me some argument somewhere, some link, some real physical argument, something, saying how any part of that video is substantially incorrect. I haven't heard anything. And many other things besides. So apparently no one can do this job. This it's just too much trouble to point out the errors. I mean, what's so hard about doing that? That's sort of the easy part, right? All right. Before he was mistaken, okay. Many other things besides. Blah, dot, dot, dot. More just such horse shit. Anyway. Amazing that people can type such crap, make a public statement that's this full of shit. His lack of understanding of sound. Okay, so again, my argument on sound is that something has to move faster than the speed of sound to create a sound, and that all sound is the byproduct of mechanisms where something is moving faster than the speed of sound. And when you look at things, it seems kind of obvious. I mean, our larynx, when you look under a microscope, you'll see little tiny pieces. Blah, blah, blah. There's always something that's creating sound. So an object has to move faster. Even if I want to make a wave in a rope, I have to move the rope. I don't have to move very much, but I have to move quickly to make the wave go through the rope. Everything has those kind of rules. Not everything. I'm just saying everything where you're dependent on atoms telling other atoms where to go. I find especially funny. Okay, so he won't again articulate any of this. He seems to think there are tiny hairs on just about everything. Well, a lot of things do have, things that make sound do happen to have that feature in common. Things that rub against each other and make a sound. They make a sound because of the fact that they do have some kind of texture, some kind of surface. And even squeaks, are made because the air gets trapped and then it's pushed really fast And that's what the squeaky sound is made out of. So, I mean, you're just such an idiot. On just about everything that makes a sound. Look, I'm making the point. Everything that makes a sound because something has to move fast. That's the truth. Faster than the sound barrier. All sound is just little sonic booms. Now, you haven't provided any evidence to prove otherwise. On the loudspeaker cones, even the plastic ones, so he's going on about this stupid speaker crap. There's lots of different ways to make a loudspeaker. Okay, you can make an object that will convey sound. You can even do it with just plain electricity. Ironically, the little sonic booms created by the sparks. Okay, sparks make sound. Everybody knows that. You can take a radio signal and run it just across a spark gap, and you'll be able to hear, okay, what's on the radio. You can actually do that because the little bits of electricity are going to be moving at the same frequency as the carried signal. And the carried signal will leak into the atmosphere as little sonic booms from the sparks. On the loudspeaker cones, even the plastic ones, and in our throats. I think he must have looked at a sketch of the larynx through binoculars the wrong way round. Well, that would be a microscope, by the way, but yes. And deduced that it's not the vocal folds producing sound. Well, I'm just saying, if you want to, you think you're an expert on the subject, well, I don't think you are, because if you watch a documentary that actually goes into the biology of it, you'll see it's not just vibrating this way. It's the surfaces that are actually creating the sound. It's what's on the surface of your larynx that are creating the sound, dumbass. Not the little pieces of cartilage, stupid fuck. Like air escaping from a balloon, it can make a farty or squeaky noise. And again, the parts that are making that noise are the fact that air is being accelerated. Asshole. Okay. No, he reckons it's those tiny hairs again. Well, it doesn't really matter what you want to call them. The fact is that your larynx are full of texture, surface. And it's that surface that's moving. But anyway. Cilia, my human biology days are long gone. Well, it doesn't really matter. I didn't call them anything in particular because I don't think they are cilia. They're you can describe them lots of ways, I guess, like the little hairs on the inside of your ear. They really aren't hairs. Act like little bullwhips. Quite similar. So again, you bring up the subject of a bullwhip and then you don't even acknowledge the truth, which is, why does it make a cracking sound? Well, that's right, because the tip goes faster than the speed of sound. It doesn't make any sound unless you can get that tip to go faster than the speed of sound, dumbass. Just like the ones he imagines on speaker cones. So again, he doesn't argue the theory. He just sits there and says somehow it's wrong, and everybody should know it's wrong because he says it's wrong. So not much you can do with that. Alright, so, and then it's all these stupid, just lame and dumb jokes. Is that why hairy Scottish men tend to be so loud? I wouldn't know. You're the one that lives in that little queer country. Frankly, you Englishers are pretty strange folks sometimes. They're massive, here we go, ginger beards, so you have something against gingers now too. I guess I could say we could just make some Asperger joke, their Asperger beards must amplify the sound of their bagpipes. So again, he's arguing that these instruments that make noise aren't making noise because they're regulating the velocity of air through different size openings. Yeah, that's exactly why it's making sound, shithead. So AC/DC, the band, he just keeps going on with these useless analogies and, just rubbish as a comment. There's nothing I can do with this. This doesn't have anything to do with some stupid band, you idiot. It has to do with how their guitar works, retard. Why don't you just talk about how guitars work? Don't need a 500,000 watt line array PA rig after all. Uh, where did I say that tiny sonic booms can make any kind of volume of sound? I didn't say that. Shit. Or the black line of Marshall 4x12 cab stack 3 high. Well, whatever. This is, who even wants to read this? Just lots of beards suspended should do the trick. So again, he can't take what I explicitly say as an argument. He has to paraphrase or turn into some sort of where I made some argument about what beards do and that somehow beards make sound. But again, we can go back to like just all you need is a little bit of stubble on your face and you can make some sounds. Yeah. All these bull whipping hairs. Well, I'm sorry you don't like the theory, but frankly, it explains a lot, and I don't think you can provide any examples that say it didn't happen, where you can show a sound being made and there isn't something moving really fast. So go ahead and show where sound is made and you don't have to move anything fast at all. Alright, sorry, I'm getting carried away amusing myself. Well, that's the only person who could be amused by it. With Gary's, and like he owns my name, you know. Again, just these people who just take whatever liberties they can. I'm not your friend. You know, you have no real reason or right to use my real name. It's not your property, asshole. You're just taking it. You know, like you're saying it's yours. You can possess it for some reason. It's just not your property. It's not on the channel. It's not used on the channel. Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, draftness now. Anyway, so, daftness, whatever. But so long as it gets the point across. Did you do that? Did you actually make a point and then get it across? Did you actually prove something or demonstrate something? No, you didn't do anything but talk shit again. Because that's all you are, is just a haggard old shit talker. A pathetic failure as a human being. You just haven't managed to do you know, do anything because you don't have any reasonable notions of how the real world works. In the real world, you have to make an argument, shithead. Yeah, I think he's an idiot. Well, yeah, likewise. Okay, I think you're worse than an idiot, actually. I think you're a petty little person. Okay, you got all kinds of little psycho issues, and you know, all kinds of issues about your own failure, and so you're kind of just desperate to prop yourself up. You're just a very little person trying to pretend you have some kind of stature, you know, credibility, and you don't. Okay, and then you put fact, the game over, as he would say, before having to change his theory yet again. So again, there's no you're not going to find any evidence of that. Okay, the points where I've said game over is because, yes, I've demonstrated that, yeah, the only way to logically understand it is to understand that a force did this and a force did that. None of that's changed. Alright, so apparently this Smythe guy, who I have no real appreciation for, made some comment to Bro and then deleted it, which is just more of the same old horse shit. But anyway, just to be clear, I know he talks utter nonsense, and again, that is proven with nothing. I mean, I'm sitting here saying I got 2 videos that I've cut down to 17 minutes on a theory of where gravity comes from, what causes, the first real description of a real mechanical cause for gravity, and pointing out how the cornerstone of quantum mechanics is horseshit. You know, the slit experiment analysis is just nonsense, and there's a simple explanation. The math is simpler than they've made it. They've done it the hard way rather than the simple way. It's just a simple geometric equation that can be understood as just what light always does, which is it scatters really well, and that's all it is the byproduct of scatter. Anyway, but like at any kind of, is there any evidence that he's ever going to produce an argument that in any way shows that it is utter nonsense? that both of those videos are utter nonsense. Has he come anywhere close to providing even a shred of evidence why any fair person would say, yeah, it's nonsense? Can you add a little bit more? Just explain, why is it nonsense? Okay. Absolutely unadulterated, laughably stupid cod swallop. So he's using more of his ethnic talk. Gabon. Why don't you call it a Gabon? What a Gabon! Anyway, it's kind of entertaining. So again, you just keep saying these words, and yet you can't make an argument to save your life, to save your reputation, to save anything. You can't do it. You're just incapable of making an argument that has any facts in it or any information in it. All right. But more than anything, it's annoying to see how much support he does get. Well, I don't see that, so I'm amazed that you think there's some support somewhere, because I don't see any of it from anybody who knows anything. Okay. And I frankly, all I'm seeing is a bunch of intellectual, smart people running from their obligation to defend their horse shit. I just see a ton of cowards and weasels. Anyway, support he does get, mainly from people with undiagnosed mental conditions. Yeah, well, I'm sure if anybody shows up on your channel, they're probably going to have some list of mental conditions, I would guess. It's not that. I mean, look at your friends, asshole. You got people who are obsessed with this petty bullshit of naming channels after my people in my family. What the fuck? Those are your heroes. I mean, what a fucking clown you are. It's not their fault if their mental health status makes them vulnerable, and I must admit I have some difficulty separating out those who are just plain stupid from those who are mentally vulnerable. Well, frankly, you're the one with all the questionable soundness to your brain function. Because I identify with the latter to some extent. You are the latter to some extent. I.e., I do have mental health issues, right? And so here you are bringing up this subject that doesn't do you any good, jackass. You're going to critique people who are watching something because they're mentally stupid, and then you're going to demonstrate that you do the same thing anyway, and that you're in the same category, and that nobody should watch what you're watching because you're obviously a retard too. So why would somebody want to watch what retards are watching? So I have to work extra hard to stay sane amongst the insanity that rains down on us when we click on a Gary video. So again, the horror. Oh, somebody's challenging the establishment. What a horror. We have to stop that from happening. Yeah. Go do your job, silly person. Sorry, I didn't phrase that too well. Yeah, you don't phrase any, you just ramble. All right, his hypocrisy. So where's this hypocrisy? It makes me want to throw up. Yeah, well, your appearance kind of can provoke some of those emotions. Before I even knew him, he ripped me apart for daring to talk to Hothliday. That is such a fucking lie. The Hothliday thing didn't come up till much later, so that is just such a hot pile of crap. About the diagnosed mental health condition we had in common. So this never happened before you knew. You knew me. I mean, that is just such a pile of shit. Anyway, I was talking to Hothliday, not Gary. Yeah, my point is that you were supposed to be doing an experiment that had something to do with my theory, and then I find that you were doing this crap with Hothliday, and clearly I had to be suspect of your motivations. But he went snooping for comments. I didn't go snooping anywhere. I watch Hothliday videos. Somebody who's talking to me in a video exchange, I'm going to watch his videos, and yeah, I might see some of the comments. But hardly snooping on other people's channels for something to make a video about. So just another lie. So they just make up these little fake stories, just like the physicists make up their little detector stories, making up little fake stories about my behavior. None of that ever happened. Just a fucking lie. He doesn't need any physics to make a video. I don't know what that, like I said, 99.9% of the videos on this channel are me attempting to explain physical concepts. That's all. Which is a good job because he doesn't have any. So he's talking about this job thing. He's going to bring up personal lives. So again, I'll just bring up his. If that's the game you want to play, then you're just as incredible a character. Your work history and your social conformity is been a disaster. Your life is a fucking asshole mess. So what's and that proves something, does it? Oh, okay. I don't think it proves anything, frankly. All right, and come across my comment on Hothlay's channel mentioning Aspergers, and Gary thought it was a fair game to proclaim how much he hates you people turning asshole into Aspergers. Yeah, I'm allowed to have a personal opinion, and I would argue that all of this crap, ADDD, WDDD, 5DD, blah, 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 go on and on and on. You could diagnose almost everybody has one of these fucking idiotic new modern conditions, and they're just kind of horseshit. I mean, yes, I passed the Youre dyslexic test. Okay, I mean, I spelled words backwards all the time, of, as, the, my brain just didn't, blah, blah, blah. And I still, to some extent, I still do it now and then. So, yeah, I'd fit into these categories, but, I mean, the fact that they think it's some sort of disease or some sort of real condition, no, it's just a lack of literacy based on the fact that, everybody can be introduced to a subject the right way or the wrong way. You can get on you can break horses, or you can have some technique. And, the right technique gets the job done in 5 minutes. The wrong technique, it takes you 5 years. It's one of those simple things. This isn't some syndrome that has some, everybody got it from the same way and everybody's experiencing the same thing. It's just not something you can classify like that. I just think it's horseshit as medical science to sit there and call what are a lot of people who are just distracted and lazy and call it Aspergers. I mean, they don't like life having, oh, you mean I can't just play video games all day? I mean, I perfectly empathize. If I grew up in this culture, with this technology, it's very seductive. The technology, you can get lost in it, and you can lose all relationship to the real world, where you can't just hit the replay button. Where you can't just do do-overs, where you just can't start over. You can't do all that stuff that you can do in these synthetic worlds. And so people lose appreciation for the fact that you got to plant the crops, and you got to fertilize the crops, you got to pick the bugs off the crops, you got to do all this work, and they don't like it. And that's essentially what Asperger's for many people is they just don't like the facts of life. I don't either. But it's not Asperger's. It's not a fucking disease. Anyway, and that was my introduction to DraftScience. Well, whatever. That's just a lie. That wasn't your introduction, you fucking lying sack of shit. Earlier this year, however, it was an entirely different story when it came to his mental health. So I don't know what this is about. No one was allowed to speak about it. I'm just saying that I'm just saying, what business is of yours to be making videos about my personal life? I didn't make any videos about your personal life, you fucking idiot. Why the fuck is it a subject, you fucking piece of shit? I have a life. I have a history. Events happened in it. I've been honest about those events. If people really have to know, they can go find out. But why do you need to talk about it? And why would you think I'd find it anything other than fuck you behavior? I mean, I'm trying to do physics, and you want to change the subject to my life? Fuck you. That's just bullshit, asshole. He got very angry about that. Yeah, well, and that was so irrational of him. Why the fuck wouldn't he love to change the subject to something to him that's just totally irrelevant? And there's just no way. I mean, unless people want to spend hours to try to understand something, there's no way I'm going to explain an anxiety disorder, okay, that started when I was about 12. and go through the whole process of how it took complete control of my life and stole my entire life from me. I can go through my work history and all the how horrible it was and how difficult it was to get out of bed every day. And I can go through all the whole thing, and then you can say it's all a figment of my imagination or some other horse shit. Why should I put up with that, you fucking idiot? Ugh, stupid bastard. Alright, should be back. Alright, so I guess here's where he's going to make some excuse for being obnoxiously rude. I don't think he's going to be able to do that. So I figured it was time I stopped pandering to his tantrums. So there's no tantrums involved here. There's just me expressing my honest opinions. He didn't like those opinions, and so he had to make me pay for them in some way. Period. There's nothing else here. That's all it is. He got butthurt and then decided he had to attack me. And he attacked me with lies and crap. And then decided, well, another way to attack him is let's force him to talk about his personal life. So we'll make a bunch of accusations like he beat his wife, his third wife. And they did this and that. We'll make a bunch of accusations that have nothing to do with the truth and force him to defend himself against those accusations. Oh, yeah, you're just such a lovely person. And for giving his laughably stupid claim. So again, you're not allowed to have an opinion that is different than Steve's, or else he'll attack you personally. Okay, got it. Okay, not wanting to embarrass him. So again, this isn't. There's nothing I've ever said to you or done or in any way I am at all embarrassed by. So again, wrong, fail. There's no evidence you'll ever produce of anything I've done that was in any way abusive. Retard. Now it's my absolute pleasure to embarrass him. Well, you haven't been doing that with any facts. You've been doing it with a bunch of lies. And there's a bunch of lies in this video, a bunch of innuendo, a bunch of statements made that you won't prove. And then there's just this, well, we could always just let's just focus on his personal life because physics is too complex a subject. And again, if this was 5 years ago, I wouldn't have minded a conversation. I spent hours in stick-ham rooms talking about my life. All right, I'm not embarrassed by it. I'm not afraid of the conversation. I'm just saying in this context you can't have the conversation because people are they hear trigger words, and that's the end of the conversation. So there's no point. All right, for being wrong again, it's very difficult to find anything he is actually right about. So it's such a stupidly excessive statement. That you're just like, well, what credibility do you have when you can't? Again, you're like the double slit experiment. You can't be at all honest. You can't just deal with the facts. You have to, sit there and go way beyond what the facts really indicate. Clearly, if I was this easy a target, there'd be somebody collecting my $1,700, clearly, and even just for the fun of it. Okay? I mean, here you got somebody's making bold claims, it's supposed to be easily debunked, and yet nobody's taken the bait. You think that's a plausible theory? I don't think it's very plausible. The downside for me is it's very hard work collating all of this evidence. Could you just get one piece of it for fuck's sake? I mean, you don't need all of the evidence. You just need a piece of fucking evidence. And you haven't done that. One fucking piece. Against that lying sack of shit. No, you are the fucking preposterous liar, okay? Who has produced absolutely nothing. You produced no physics claims. You produce nothing. Okay. But just to be clear, that's my own personal reason for watching all his videos. So your own personal reason is this is how desperate he is. You say you have all this evidence, why not just produce it? What do you need any new evidence for? If you have so much volume of collating evidence, you have so much laying around. Just produce something, fuckhead. Some shred of evidence to back up any of your preposterously ludicrous excessive claims. I wouldn't believe him if he said it was raining. And again, believe what? I never, ever, 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 ever said anything to Stephen Bro in any conversation that in any way was deceptive or dishonest or manipulative or any of that. He has no evidence of any of it. He is a duplicitous, so he has absolutely zero evidence that he's produced. Nothing. Not a single sentence that can he construct or show where I've done anything duplicitous. Anything. Manipulative. No. Nothing. Zero. Where? Show me anything I've ever done to in any way dishonestly manipulate anyone ever. You have nothing. You're the moron with no evidence. Just to be clear. So the clarity is where here? It's just you trolling. That's it. Typing all this crap on a video about physics. Alright, where you couldn't make a physics argument. Right? And you just sit here and are explaining why you're trolling. This is why I'm trolling, is because he hurt my feelings. And he hurt my feelings in some way that should be a crime. You know, you hurt my feelings by why? Saying you're fat? You know, what exactly did I do that was so horrendous as a crime against you? Oh, I have an opinion. Oh, and I'm not allowed to have my opinions. Oh, I get it. If they disagree with yours about the sacred subjects. Oh, okay. You're just not gonna get through your life, okay? You know, and all satisfied. You're gonna be, you know, drinking your Pepto-Bismol until you drop dead, because yeah, you know, there's points where you have to let it go, fuckhead. All right, I don't like you now, that's for sure. But in every way, I was grateful and thankful and appreciative of your efforts, and you know, but in no way did I ever encourage you to spend 10 cents on any of it. I didn't ask you to do that. I frankly didn't want you to. I was kind of making it clear. I'd rather you didn't. You know. And you only let me know after you already bought something. I'm like, oh, what the fuck? And then I said, okay, well, you know, I don't really want to pay for this shit. But since you did, I offered to contribute. Didn't I do that? Yes, I did do that. Despite the fact that I didn't want the commitment, I didn't ask for the commitment, you know, sort of started committing me to things. So, I mean, you're just such a fucking despicable piece of shit to sit there and blame me. Ugh, disgusting. Anyway. Ugh, just whatever. Human beings suck. I mean, they just suck. So dishonest. Terrible. Alright, so that's enough of a video. So, yes, once in a while we have to deal with the trolls. Just in case somebody's thinking they have some sort of, oh yeah, well maybe someday he's going to make an argument. Yeah, oh yeah, prove something. Oh yeah. No, that won't ever happen. So I just want to make it clear to people. I'm not afraid of this accusation. I'm not afraid, blah, 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 blah. But it really isn't my job to pull the lies out of other people's mouths and show what they are. I shouldn't have to clean up messes made by liars. That's just not one of the obligations that should come with life. No. It's hard enough, you know, dealing with all the other crap. You shouldn't have to deal with these overt lying sacks of shit. But it's just a fact that we don't have enough. There's not enough character in our human culture to make it a more discouraging such behavior in any way. Punishing it, yeah, frankly, and it should be punished. So till the next time, and such and so forth and whatnot. So maybe I'll just title the video something. Yeah, I'll do a Ken Wheeler, don't watch this video. Yeah, no, I won't do that. I'll try to make it as I mean, it's hard to title, you know. There's some physics in it, but yeah, not much, not enough. But anyway, till the next time, and such and so forth and whatnot. there really isn't anything else going on, which is really depressing also. I mean, Simon Dan and that idiot, the high school teacher, right? I found out, so he admits that he was a high school teacher, right? He used that as his lame excuse for not knowing detail. But he taught physics in high school. That's what he taught for 20 years. Physics. So he should be real familiar with the double slit experiment. I'm sure he taught the double slit experiment wrong. Okay? And so he should be able to talk about it. So the reason why he couldn't talk about it is he'd have to concede. Yeah, I really never looked at any of it. I just talked the talk. Whatever was written in the book. I preached it. Yeah. Ugh, baldy cats. Fucking piece of shit. So anyway, till the next time and such. But it's just horrible. I mean, there's just nothing to listen to. I mean, I still listen to Bill Gates sometimes, but I mean, he's hard to, he's great when he's critiquing the assholes, but when he starts talking about that rope shit, it's just like, oh, please. Too stupid.